The Prequel, Sound Engineers, where we've been and where we're going. Think of a sound guy in your mind, and really I ask you to really think about that time you were at a venue, the time you were, seeing your friend's band, the time you were at a festival, and think about that guy who was running the soundboard and describe him in your mind. Really, even if you want to pause this video and think about it, because this is so critical to everything I'm about to explain. So before I studied sound and audio and really understood what it was all about, when I would describe a sound guy, I would think of that guy who was, not enthusiastic to be doing what he was doing. Maybe somebody who was a, washed up musician and just never, learned to play the guitar well enough. Sometimes, you'll see a guy who is just really sloppy. Way too often you see a guy who is drunk trying to run sound. And all of these things have created such just a negative image around sound guys. And I think what the problem is we are all still caught on the term sound guy. And I think it's time for us to start realizing what the person who is running sound for a show really is. And the old person was a sound guy, and today's modern sound guy is really known as a sound engineer. It is somebody who is not only passionate about, music, but they're equally passionate about making the sound perfect, shaping the sound, putting everything in its nook and its cranny where it needs to fit in the mix, and they're truly passionate about creating a big picture, great product. And so today's sound engineer is just such a different person compared to that person that we described before. And I wish there was a way to really push that old image out and put this new image in. And so I want to describe kind of today's sound engineer and truly the people who are in the audio industry and are succeeding. These people are 50% creative, so they're very into, understanding sounds, and they're really passionate about making something sound big and boomy or something sound small but precise. And they're 50% logic. They're the guy who can sit there and do math equations to help understand where the speakers need to be set up, or why those speakers are set up the place they are, or the direction they are, or why we use this microphone. So they're 50% creative, 50% logic. And today's modern sound engineer knows computers, which the sound guy never had to know. And not only does he know computers, but he understands software and how to troubleshoot software. He understands physics to an extremely more impressive level than the sound guy ever knew. And it's also great that the sound engineer is maybe 150% more professional than the sound guy ever was. He dresses nicely, he's there because he loves it. This is why I have started, and everyone really in the audio industry who's a professional started calling them sound engineers. They're no longer that guy who has this bad reputation. There's somebody that really is truly almost the most important part of the sound of the show, because you have 4 great musicians who have 4 great shows, and a terrible sound engineer will ruin your show every time. You have a couple musicians who play okay, and a great sound engineer will be able to take their product and step it up to the next level, as long as they are a sound engineer and not a sound guy. So with that being said, I want to just point out one last thing about this kind of push to sound engineer and not sound guy. And I want to talk about Gary Vaynerchuk, incredible CEO of VaynerMedia, and also was part of Wine Library when it exploded. And his prediction in 1999, when he said, the internet is going to be impressively large for sales and marketing. And he believed that if you got on that, that internet kick and was able to sell and buy on the internet, you were part of the future. And he says everyone else, they were on the wrong side of history. And I believe that as well for sound guys and sound engineers. Sound guys are on the way out, sound engineers are on the way in. And if you are still trying to hire the sound guy and not the sound engineer, your band, your venue is gonna fall on the wrong side of history. So I'd venture for everybody watching this video who is involved in music or production in any way to look at their sound guy or their sound engineer and really decide who they're working with. If you're working with the sound guy, maybe it's time for you to move on and find a sound engineer.